So you did it. You landed your first marketing gig. That's awesome. Congratulations. Sooner or later, though, you're going to face your first really big pricing decision. And this is your guide to navigating that exact moment with a ton of confidence. Okay, picture this. Your new boss walks over to your desk, drops a brand new product right in front of you, and just says 2 words, price this. So, what do? What's your first move? Where do you even begin? It's a moment that pretty much every new marketer faces, and yeah, it can feel a little bit terrifying.
All right, let's just dive right in. The first thing you have to understand is that setting prices isn't simple. Not at all. I mean, if it were easy, anyone could do it, right? But out here in the real world, that number has to be just right.
At its core, pricing is this incredible balancing act. You're trying to navigate between 2 really powerful and often competing forces. On one hand, you have the internal reality of your costs, and on the other, you have the external reality of the market. And if you get that balance wrong, well, you could be in for some trouble.
So before you even start thinking about what your competitors are doing or what customers might pay, you have to look inward. You have to know your floor. This is the absolute first, most fundamental step in any pricing strategy. It's non-negotiable.
And this brings us to a core method called cost-based pricing. And honestly, it's a pretty simple inward-looking calculation. You figure out the total cost to make 1 unit of your product, you add a little extra for profit, we call that a markup, and bam, that's your price. What's so crucial about this is it tells you the absolute minimum you have to charge just to break even.
Let's make this real for a second. Imagine we're pricing this basic mobile phone. The variable costs, things like the screen, the battery, they add up to about $32. Then we have to account for fixed costs, stuff like R&D and marketing, and we'll say that comes out to about $15 per phone. So your total cost is $47. That number right there, that is your price floor. You absolutely cannot sell below this price without losing money on every single sale.
So you've established your floor. You know you can't go below $47. But, and this is a big but, that doesn't mean you should just price it at, say, $48 and call it a day. Now it's time to look up from your spreadsheet and, well, read the room.
And this is where market-based pricing comes into the picture. Instead of looking inward at your costs, you're now looking outward at the world. You're asking completely different questions now. Questions like, what is the market actually willing to pay for a phone like this? What are my competitors charging? And what is the perceived value of my brand?
So what kind of factors are we actually looking at here? Well, there are 4 really big ones. You've got the prices of your direct competitors, obviously. Then there's what customers have shown they're willing to pay for similar things. You also have to consider the overall market demand. And this last one is huge: how your brand is perceived. A really strong brand can often command a much higher price.
Okay, so let's recap. You now have 2 key pieces of information. You have the floor, which is determined by your costs, and you have the room, or maybe the ceiling, that's suggested by the market. Now you have to make the call. How in the world do you decide?
Let's put these 2 head-to-head so you can see the trade-offs. Cost-based is all internal. It's asking, what's our break-even point? Market-based is all external. It's asking, what will customers actually pay? Now here's the risk. If you only focus on your costs, you might seriously undervalue your product and leave a ton of money on the table. But the risk of only looking at the market? You could end up matching a competitor's super low price, completely forget that your own costs are higher, and end up losing money on every single sale. Yikes.
So let's turn all this theory into an actual, actionable plan. Here is your simple 3-step guide. Step 1. Calculate your cost floor. That's your non-negotiable minimum. Step 2. Research the market room. Find out what the market will bear. And finally, Step 3. Set your price. You're going to pick a strategic point that is safely above your floor, but is also positioned smartly within that room.
But before you go and set that price in stone, there's just one last dose of real-world context that we really need to talk about. Because the reality is, pricing is never, ever truly finished.
You have to remember this. Your initial price is just a starting point. It's your best educated guess on day 1. That's it. Markets will change. Trust me. Competitors will react, and you'll learn way more about your customers. So you have to be prepared to adjust that price with things like promotions, discounts, and just strategic shifts over time. Really, you should think of your price as a living, breathing part of your strategy.
So, you followed the steps, you know your floor, you've read the room, and you've set a safe price. It covers your costs, and it makes sense in the market. That's a huge win. Congratulations. But here's the final question I really want to leave you with. You've set a safe price. How do you set a truly profitable one? a price that captures the full value you're delivering to customers. While that's the next level of pricing strategy, and it's the start of your journey from being a new marketer to a real pricing expert.